First off, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now back at 500 at 1-1 to start the season. They go through a California gauntlet. First, they lost to the LA Lakers, but last night they just beat the Sacramento Kings. Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards combined for 65 points, and Julius Randle also became the first. He has scored the most points in Minnesota Timberwolves history for a player playing their first 2 games for him in franchise history. No Timberwolf has come out and scored as many points as Randle has throughout his first 2 games as a Minnesota Timberwolf. And Anthony Edwards reportedly told Julius Randle that he should not fit around us, but that the Timberwolves were going to work to fit around him. In this game, that certainly worked out. Now, I was critical of the Randle trade at the time, but really after having kind of a month, I believe it's been to really dissect it and determine how it affects both franchises, it's really not too bad a trade. Obviously, Minnesota fans have an emotional attachment to Cat. He's an all-time franchise player for him. However, Julius Randle is a little bit of a Cat light in the vein of being an offensive forward who's not the best defender, drops off a little bit in the playoffs. But hey, we're not here to talk about that right now. We're not in the playoffs yet. And the Wolves also got Dante DiVincenzo, which is a great pickup for him. But for Julius in particular, there were times in New York where he was kind of a ball stopper. However, he was able to do well last year, on a team led by a guard like Jalen Brunson. And obviously, Ant's a little bit bigger than Brunson. However, it's the same kind of concept where the Wolves are Ant's team, the same way the Knicks were Brunson's team. And Randle is able to play around that, especially in the regular season for the Knicks, and he could absolutely do that for the Wolves as well. I do worry about his playoff drop-offs. However, you dealt with the same thing with Cat, and if you can make the Western Conference Finals with Cat, you can make it with Randle too. But for this Minnesota team, they looked rough on opening night against the LA Lakers. They just were uncharacteristic. They were really safe. Or I say they were really safe with the ball last year. They weren't that safe with it, but one player who was Mike Conley. And opening night, he was not safe with the ball as he normally is. But the Wolves look a lot more polished this game. And I think, with Randle, it is going to be a process to get acquainted to that, but they will be fine in the long run. I think Minnesota can absolutely be a top team in the West again. I would be surprised if they're not. And I think having, a little bit worse Cat, arguably, and then having a great addition to Dante DiVincenzo can maybe elevate the team even more. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a finals team if they won the finals, right? This is a very, very good team led by a rising star, and you've got all the veteran mentorship you need. Mike Conley, he's a great basketball mind. They've got a good head coach. This team has all that it takes to win a championship. They've got lockdown defenders too. Anthony Edwards is one. Rudy Gobert, one of the greatest defensive players that we've ever seen, at least accolades-wise. Jaden McDaniels was great. I love Nickeil Alexander-Walker as a player. There's a lot to look forward to on this team, and Jaden hasn't really done it yet, but I think Jaden McDaniels could have an offensive leap this year too. I was expecting it. So for this Minnesota team, there's a lot to look forward to, and I think that they can absolutely be a top team in the West. I would be shocked if they're not. And there might be some growing pains for Julius Randle, but come the end of the season, they're going to be a great team.